What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Action Jack-0ffs podcast, the podcast where we talk about the very best in our favorite action movies. This time around, we're talking about The Fast and the Furious. So we're going to be getting into that. I'll just start off, initial thoughts. I'll pass it over to Lincoln.
Oh, dude, I'm just living my life a quarter mile at a time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
Dude,
no,
I
I get it.
love. Hey, off the top. It's the Point Break ripoff, so I like Point Break just a little bit more. But we're here to talk about Fast and the Furious, and it is supercharged. It has nosedived as the fandom has continued over the years. We're almost at Fast 10 Part 2. But to
I
go
can't
back to
believe
the
that.
littler times, to go back to when it was smaller, when it was small heists, when it was about racing, some might say,
When it was about cops.
when it was about small time cops that aren't Keanu Reeves trying to get into a surfboard community. Instead, it's Paul Walker trying to get into a racing community
Exactly, exactly.
that are also high speed thieves.
Yep. Yep, high speed thieves. You gotta love it.
I love it every time. I get so happy. I get so sad.
Actually,
I always want Jesse to not get into the race. It's just
so I'll just go ahead and say whatever I've got to say.
go for it.
So my initial thoughts are I'm not a big Fast and Furious guy. I've never really I've maybe seen Fast
I
two.
like
I've
I like the
probably
first three.
I was about to say I've only seen Too Fast, Too Furious, Tokyo Drift, and I've seen bits and pieces of the original. I've probably seen the whole thing at one point, but it was so long ago that I can't say I've seen it. You
Did
know
you
what I
think it
mean?
ripped?
Um, it's like I'm like 50-50 on the whole project, honestly.
Hey, I understand. Some people, hey, I get it. If we're being completely honest, Tokyo Drift is my favorite one.
Really?
But but we're here to talk about the original.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so
So,
my
you seem like a Too Fast, Too Furious guy, if I'm
I
being
I
honest.
do like Too Fast, Too
That's
Furious.
it. It makes more sense for you.
Tyrese
I see.
Gibson, Eva Mendes. I love it. I can't help it. You know I gotta have that orange, as Tyrese Gibson's character would say, who I can't remember the name of his character.
Roman.
Roman, yeah, yeah, totally no Roman. Um,
He's pretty funny.
he's a good guy. I like him. I like
Hey, I
Tyrese
would love
Gibson.
to do Too Fast, Too Furious just for whenever Paul Walker goes, whenever he says like so and so cuz.
Cause yeah, like when he tries to act hard, yeah.
Yeah, it's so silly.
Yeah, so and well, getting into Fast and Furious, the Fast and the Furious proper. I guess I'll just say that like the parts that I'm 50-50 on, I love the action. And that's what this show is all about. It's just, praising action movies and talking about like the action and the stunts and all that stuff. All that stuff is good. The car chases, the races, um all the different like moments where like a car flips or gets blown up or something. All that stuff is good. Pretty much everything else kind of dog shit. And I
Are
know,
you telling me that Dom telling Paul Walker the story about how he beat a man to death, almost to death with a wrench, that wasn't compelling to you?
I think it's a problem with
When
like,
I was done, I could barely lift my hand.
oh my god. No, I'm saying like for me, I think that it works, but it doesn't work at the same time because what doesn't work for me about it is that like it conveniently comes in right after Paul Walker, Brian O'Connor, had just found out about that story from the police. And then when he goes and he talks to Dom, Dom conveniently tells him the story from his perspective.
It's pretty convenient.
And it's one of those things where it's like, I get it, it's movie writing, but it's one of those things where like I look at it and I say to myself, the narrative doesn't really like work for me. What and
Hey, and the reason why is because it's shot for shot Point Break, my guy. There's a similar scene where Keanu Reeves learns something about Patrick Swayze, and then Patrick Swayze's like, "Hey man, I was on the surfboard once."
and I get that. And to be fair, I've never even seen we've talked about this before on the show. I've never seen Point Break.
I'm so excited for you to watch Point Break at some point and be like, dude, it's just better Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll take better Fast and the Furious any day because this Fast and Furious is not it. It's not
Hey man,
not
we're here
it.
to talk about how it rips, dude. What are
I'll
you doing?
no, I'll talk about how it rips.
No, okay. I'm always excited to hear when you're upset about a movie.
Well, it's just
It's always the other way around. It's weird being on the back foot,
okay.
being the
Well,
defender.
let's say this. Let's say this. So, yeah, like when I had to play cops and robbers with Demolition Man.
Yeah, and for
Uh,
the last like 5 years,
yeah,
now I'm the one defending Fast and the Furious. How the turns have tabled.
yeah. So so we got hold on. Chatter says in the end the movie made Paul Walker a corrupt cop. He fell in love with Dom's sister and conveniently let Dom and his crew boost DVD players and resell them. Which kind of leads me into my next point, which is that Paul Brian O'Connor is a shitty cop, but I guess that's kind of like in the first place. Let's talk like in the first place he's kind of a shitty cop, but then by the end of the movie he just goes full corrupt cop. And I guess that's like it doesn't even like last really because then he goes into Too Fast Too Furious working for the
Well,
police again.
at the beginning he gets arrested,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they offer him a deal to come back and work undercover in the second one.
Right, right. Um and I totally get that. I totally get that. That's kind of like the point of the movie is like his sense of connection to Dom and Dom's family is so strong that he's willing to turncoat over that. Um but to me it's also kind of like weak in the sense that like for a liar revealed archetype plotline, what also just doesn't work for me is like how it resolves. Um, most
Would you rather have had the Reservoir Dogs ending where he's like, Larry, I'm a cop, and then he just blows him away?
no, I mean I wouldn't go that extreme. I just mean like in the sense that like when it does become revealed that he's a cop, it is so fleeting. Like the sense of betrayal that all the characters are supposed to feel is so fleeting. Like even Mia, who's obviously supposed to be like in love with this guy, or at least have like a very strong connection to this guy, she her emotions about it are fleeting because then it's got to jump right into the next chase, right? It's got to go from this really incredible plot development right into we got to save Dom and Leon and Letty and Vince and like all those guys from making the biggest mistake of their life. And then it goes in. Well, obviously, like before that, it goes into like Dom and stuff, and like all the stuff that like he learns that he's a cop right after that. You know, like
After Vince is in danger for reals.
yeah, after like Vince almost dies, then he becomes aware of it, and then it jumps right into the next car chase, or it jumps into Jesse dying. I mean to say. And then that goes into the next car chase, which then goes into the final race of the movie right before they like where like they cross the
That's
train
what I'm
tracks.
saying. That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing you say all of this negativity, but all I'm hearing is gas, brother.
Yes, it's like
All I'm
it's
hearing is
metal.
banger after banger.
It's
There's no issue,
there's
brother.
pedal to the
I think
metal. There's
I
pedal to
think
the metal. One
I
hundred.
think that's what I'm saying. There's the Johnny Tran subplot. Are you kidding me, brother?
No, I totally get what you're saying. It's basically one of those things where it's like this is not the type of movie you complain about the script for. You know what I mean?
No, it's one
Like
of those. How I've always watched it, even when I was younger, is that you laugh anytime they talk, and then you're like glued to the screen whenever they start racing and stuff.
yeah, it's really interesting how it works like that because and it's so funny whenever I do criticize movies like this. Like if like I don't hate this movie at all. I actually had fun.
No, that's why it's hilarious to hear it because
That's
I'm like, man, this guy watches Demolition Man for fun.
don't roast me like that.
This guy, dude, there's like,
Hey, you changed lanes on Demolition Man. You're in the right lane right now.
no,
So
yeah, I enjoy it, but it's like he's out here. He's like, I don't like Fast and the Furious 1. Like I'd seen this guy watch the Nostalgia Critic for fun.
Oh, that's just a that's just a low blow right there. That's so low.
Angry video game nerd fan over
Oh
here.
man, you just put that on the internet like that. That's so goofy.
I like
That's
them both too. That's why it's funny. We used to
that's
watch that shit together.
that's so mad, lad. but but no, I mean I like the Fast and the Furious. I had fun. I had a ton of fun watching it. It's one of those like fun popcorn movies, and you're really not supposed to be like you're not supposed to criticize the plot or the narrative or the script the way I do. And but if I was going to criticize something else,
The cops raided my
just
house, man.
just get the rest of the negatives out of the way like as soon as we
All
can.
right, all right, that's fine. Hey, this is the countdown, and then we're gonna be off to the races.
Yeah,
Pun
then
intended.
we're gonna get into like the actual like meat and potatoes here. But
There we go.
one of the other things that I thought didn't work for me is this is like the breakout movie for Paul Walker, right?
Yeah, he had been in quite a few movies before, very laughable movies, in fact. A few serious ones here and there, but this was his make or break. I'm the main guy.
Yeah, this is like his lead role, and I just gotta say, man, it's not the worst performance, but I think it's for a lead character, it's probably of the two, especially when you compare it to Vin Diesel as the weaker of the two performances. Because Vin Diesel's
Hey,
Dominic Toretto is pretty gas.
it's pretty great. What I really think is funny is to think that Joyride and Fast and the Furious were both he was the main character in both of them, and they came out the same year.
And both of them are about like intense car chases.
Yes, and then the year before was Skulls, which is what I was trying to find, where it's a skull and bones.
Dude, I love
Uh,
Joyride.
yeah, that's a pretty scary movie.
I
I
love it.
remember that was really scared. And then Tammy the T Rex in 1994. That's the one that was in that video game.
Did he do anything? Did Paul Walker? You probably can tell me better than I can learn, but did Paul Walker really do anything of note outside of the Fast and the Furious movies, or was the Fast and Furious kind of like his bread and butter?
It was kind of his bread and butter. Like in 1999, he was in Varsity Blues and She's All That, and those are like standout character
She's all that,
performances
yeah.
where, yeah, where he's like the side character. But yeah, like most of the other stuff, like he's in Flags of Our Fathers as a small part. He's
Oh,
in,
Brick Mansions. That was
oh
the that was
yes, he was
the
in that.
that was the one
He's
I
in
was
that.
thinking of. Thank you.
Is he's also in that Eight Below movie where he's with the dogs. And then there was some hurricane movie. I think it's a Hours. That's what it is.
Basically, what you're trying to tell
But
me
nothing.
is Fast and the
Yeah, but nothing.
Furious
It was his
is
bread and butter, and he
yeah.
was also taken. He was also taken a little early. He could have gone on to do bigger and better
Oh
things as time
yeah.
went on.
Oh yeah, obviously. Like we can't talk about Paul Walker without mentioning his tragic death for sure.
Of course.
I very ironically also at the hands of high speed maneuvers. That sucks. That's sad to say, but obviously, you gotta at least mention and acknowledge it. Because I mean, this is his legacy. These movies are his legacy. But compared to someone like Vin Diesel, who would go on to just kill it in other
Before and
roles,
after would be in
before,
movies.
after. I mean, this movie I would also say is like his big breakthrough role. I think for both of them, it's like the big breakthrough.
Yeah, this one, and then the Triple X
Triple
a
X,
little bit
yeah.
before.
Well, no, Triple X came
Oh no, no,
after this.
after. I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
thinking of Pitch Black. Pitch Black was the year right before, I believe.
yeah, yeah. Pitch Black was right before this. Um, so
Because then that would go on to be his other big uh, IP
his
monster.
my favorite role in one of my favorite movies he was in was the Iron Giant as the Iron Giant. I'm serious. I'm serious.
It's so strange because I didn't know that until he started doing like Groot and stuff, and both of those are such strange things for him to be doing.
I love it. I think it's great. I
Yeah,
mean, he has
yeah,
the
big
perfect
fan of
voice.
voice acting.
He has the perfect voice for it too. It's perfect. It's so naturally deep. I think it's just a perfect fit for big hulking characters like that. Um, Pitch Black. Triple X is like another big one that he kind of jumped into. I saw his most. It's probably not his most recent movie. In recent years, it's basically just been the Fast and Furious movies, and then he's done like some side projects, like whatever that Witch Hunter movie was, and then the
Oh well,
most.
they're bringing that. They're having a sequel to that one soon.
Oh shit!
The
The
last
last
Witch Hunter.
Yeah, the last Witch Hunter.
I actually quite enjoyed that one, though. That's another like bad popcorn movie.
Um, have you ever heard of Breaking Two Electric Boogaloo?
Bless you.
Break Into.
Bless you.
Okay, whatever.
Thanks. No, I have not. I'm sorry. It was too good of a joke to pass up.
And then the last thing I saw him in, oh, it's a dance movie. That's going over our heads for sure.
Yeah, I have not caught up with Vin Diesel lately.
Well, the last thing that I saw him in was Bloodshot. Have you heard of that?
I didn't see that one, but I remember seeing of it.
Okay, so like vaguely, I saw it. It's like your standard. It's not standard, but it's like it's an okay action movie. It's like a comic book adaptation of a obscure character, so it's okay. It's okay.
It's alright.
It at least reminds me why I like Vin Diesel, so that's good.
There you go.
But going ahead, and we're just gonna go ahead.
Somebody's got to.
Yeah. The crazy thing about that movie is there's a beach scene where they are dancing, and JeanClaude Van Dam is in the scene as an uncredited role. What? That's crazy.
He just wanted to get his face out there.
Still got to talk about JeanClaude Van Dam on the show. Whenever that's happening.
I prefer not to, but we can.
I know you don't, but we've had requests for Hard Target, and I feel like that's in the mix. That's definitely in the mix. So at the end of the streams, the streams usually last like an hour, hour and a half, roughly. And at the end of the stream, we do this thing where we do a picker wheel, where we put in a bunch of movies. Chat puts in like one or two movies, depending on who's in, and then we spin, and then that's usually whatever our next movie pick is. So that I feel like I should start saying that more at the beginning of stream so that people stick around
for sure,
so they know that there's at least some interactivity outside of us just like looking at the screen and agreeing with or just talking about whatever it is they say. There's more to it, I promise. Anyway,
he promises, but he doesn't deliver.
So getting into the production of this movie proper, it was directed by Rob Cohen, who would go on to do Triple X. He did XXX. And then he also did Mummy. He did one of the Mummy. He did the last Mummy movie with Brendan Fraser, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
Underrated.
I watch all those movies. Those movies are also on the docket for sure.
Oh yeah, I love. Very much love the first three.
I would be so happy to do the first movie because I think the first movie is like genuinely just like a good popcorn movie.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then he also directed Dragonheart with Sean Connery and Dennis Quaid.
Is that the one that actually has a dragon?
It's like the CG dragon, yeah.
Yeah. I think I watched one of those. I know there's a few of them. I have one of them on VHS for sure.
I'm checking out that link right now that you put in the chat. He's in the background. Oh, I see him. That's so dumb. He's wearing a singlet. Oh, I guess I'm gonna send it to you, dude. I'm gonna send this to you so you can see it.
Oh my god, what movie is it?
Oh, it's the Electric Boogaloo breaking.
Oh, okay. The one that you sneezed and pretended like you said a title.
Yeah, like I accidentally.
Is this the one that they're always making fun of in Always Sunny?
I think so.
Because they always say something to Electric Boogaloo, so I think
that's
this is
probably what it is.
One of those jokes that never made sense that I thought they were just making stuff up.
Like it just whiffs, like it did to us. We saw it.
Just right over my head.
Yeah. Screenplay was by David Ayer, He also wrote
One of my faves.
yeah, he also wrote Training Day, End of Watch, and Fury. Love Fury. Fury's a great movie.
Fury is one of my favorite movies ever,
Fury,
and he directed the first Suicide Squad, which I like so much better than the second one.
you're kind of you're. I don't want to insult you live, but that's kind of stupid.
It is kind of stupid, and I hear you. The Jared Leto parts are stupid. I like the rest of the movie.
I'm just gonna say
I hey
your whole opinion on that is just absolutely ridiculous.
no, I think dang it, what is his name? Is it Jonathan Gunn?
James Gunn.
James Gunn. I think James Gunn sucks.
I think you accidentally hit your head and you just didn't go to the hospital for concussion.
No, I think the second Suicide Squad is hot garbage.
Wow. I
think it's an offensive hot garbage.
I think for your own sake, I'm gonna move past this.
We can argue for days on this one, but
I don't
I'll
think there's
stand
an
my
argument.
ground.
There's definitely not an argument to be had here. I think you're just
Hey,
flat
that's
out.
all right.
I think you're just flat out wrong. I mean, you're
Hey,
you're entitled to your opinion.
buddy.
You like Fast and the Furious, so I don't know what to say.
You like Venture Bros. I don't want to hear it.
Don't do that to me, you fuck.
If I'm outing myself, I'm outing you too.
Jeez, just put me out there like that. Story was by Gary Scott Thompson, who also wrote Hollow Man with Kevin Bacon and its sequel, and he was also he also wrote the story for Too Fast, Too Furious.
Classic.
Yeah. There was another writer, but I couldn't really find anything else about him. His name's Eric Bergquist. Bergquist. Really unknown about him. I'm sure he's done stuff, but I couldn't really find any information about him. Only Gary Scott Thompson and David Ayer. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about with David Ayer. But Gary Scott Thompson doesn't have that lengthy. Hollow Man and its sequel and Too Fast, Too Furious were like the main things that I found out about the guy. But in terms of production, this is where it gets interesting. This movie was produced by Neil H. Moritz, who, get ready for this, because this is a fucking laundry list.
Tell me about it.
Of fucking great movies and TV shows. So just to paraphrase here, I've got I Know What You Did Last Summer and its sequel. He was the producer on Triple X, Click, Gridiron Gang, all of the Fast and Furious movies, The Boys, and Prison Break.
This guy's a genius.
Yeah, like he's got.
Now, was that Click, the Adam Sandler movie?
Yes.
Hilarious that that's in the mix.
Yeah,
hilarious that that's the one comedy that he was like, I like that one.
I put that in there, yeah, just
I really enjoy Click.
It's a good movie. I like it. But yeah, no, Triple X, all the Fast and Furious movies, The Boys. You know, I'm a huge fan of The Boys. And we always talk about Joel Silver, producer on a ton of 80s and 90s action movies, and just like
this guy's giving him a run for his money right here. This is the second guy.
This guy, Neil Moritz, he's got as many feathers in his cap as Joel Silver, as far as I'm concerned. Because I mean, that guy was fucking stacking.
He was ripping him off.
He was stacking the deck, man. He was killing it. And I also wanted to briefly mention the cinematography by Erickson Core. And I just wanted to talk about that because I actually think the cinematography in this movie is really good, especially whenever it's like in the cars, and it's not whenever they do that dumb slow motion, like constant, like whatever you call it. It's like the fading into the next shot, but it's like slow-mo, and it's all the same shot right when they see the train at the end of the movie.
Yeah, it's like the Saw cross-cutting mixed with David Fincher in Panic Room, like going through the rooms, but it's going through the cars and stuff instead.
Yeah, but I do like the scenes in particular where, like, in the first race of the movie, when O'Connor first challenges Toretto, and they're in the cars, and I really like the sense of speed you get just from the way the camera's moving. And like the way it's not shaky cam, but it's like shaky cam but focused in, so it makes you feel the thrust and the throttle. I really enjoyed that. Erickson Core, he worked on Daredevil, the movie with Ben Affleck. Invincible movie with Mark Wahlberg in 2006, and
The
this one,
football one.
hey, this one's for you. The remake of Point Break in 2015. You're welcome. You're welcome
I
for that.
spit on the remake of Point Break.
I'm sure you do, Mr. Point Break
It's
lover.
a hey, the equivalent is the Total Recall remake that came out around the same time.
Yeah, I mean that one's got its own strengths and weaknesses. It's obviously not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the original Total Recall. Like I feel like we would never cover the remake of Total Recall. We'd only cover
No.
the original.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It's the same way that I feel about the remake of Point Break. Like, if you had released that movie and it was a different title aside, it would have
maybe.
done way better.
Yeah.
And I would have probably enjoyed it more.
Fast and
But because it's a remake.
yeah, the Fast and Furious was also, I wanted to mention this, was edited because I thought the editing was also really strong in this movie. This movie was edited by Peter Hones. He worked on the Highlander movie we'll probably talk about at some point.
Hell yeah.
Uh,
There can only be one.
he did L.A. Confidential, and he also worked on Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Just for like, I put that in there.
Interesting.
I put that in there
Did the second one?
just for notoriety. Um, but he won a BAFTA for best editing on LA Confidential. So I thought that, so basically like my goal of talking about all these people and going back to like one of my original points is that it seems like there's a lot of talent working on this movie, and I feel like the movie is not as great as the sum of its parts. Like if I'm saying that correctly, it's basically like each individual piece or each individual player I think is better than what the overall product ended up being. But that's just me saying that I really, really admire the people that worked on this movie. is the soft way, positive spin you can put on that.
Haters gotta hate, you know?
Well, I wouldn't call it hate.
I know, I'm just messing.
So Gary Scott Thompson and Eric Bergquist, they penned the original screenplay inspired by Ken Lee's 1998 article about underground street racing in New York, which I have not read. But David Ayer came on later to rework the script, including changing the setting from New York to L.A., which I think works better in the long run.
Way better.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't need another movie taking place in New York around the early 2000s.
And I don't think it was street racing and the drifting and all of that works as well.
No, it doesn't. LA works better.
When you're just when you're in standstill traffic in New York, but nowadays it wouldn't work in LA either.
No, I mean, I get like
Now it'd have to be like Atlanta or something.
I mean, it's interesting because like the whole point of the whole like underground street racing element of it is not like normal street racing. It's like semi-professional street racing because like you have teams of people that go and they block off like whole sections of the road.
And pizza guys can't get around.
Pizza guys can't get around, and you've got people with like police scanners that'll tell you like if it's clear or if cops are coming. So it's interesting how there's like a semi-professional vibe to the whole underground street racing in the movies, which I guess also just goes to show how deep Brian O'Connor's character was able to infiltrate here. Because then you like get further and further, and you realize just like how deep it goes, and it like gets into the gang wars between the Japanese, like I don't know if they identified as like Yakuza or whatever, but that's just like the Japanese crime family, or the race wars, which is what they call it, and it's not me. It's not me. I'm just saying that's what they call it in the movie.
The street racing wars.
Yes, which is funny because the original title for this movie was gonna be Race Wars.
Would not have aged well. They would not have made 10 of those.
They would not have made Race Wars X. No, it definitely would not have worked out in anybody's favor. If anything, if that had happened, that would have been the thing that's aged the worst about the movie for sure.
For sure.
But luckily that didn't happen. And then there's also like all the stuff with the high speed thefts that take place. So basically, like there's a whole lot of levels to the whole underground street racing in the movie, which I think is interesting. Getting into some of the casting, thought, dude, this shit blew me away. Do you know who was originally offered the role of O'Connor?
No, I do not off the top of my head.
It was Eminem.
That would have been incredible.
How crazy is that?
You would have loved this movie for even more. You would
Dude,
have worked past everything if Eminem was the main guy.
I would have been pissed this movie didn't win an Oscar. Like, holy shit. But speaking of movies that won an Oscar, do you know what movie he declined to do what movie he declined this movie to go do?
Was it 8 Mile?
It was 8 Mile. So it all worked out, I guess, in the long
It
run.
all worked out.
Because which makes sense, obviously. 8 Mile's a much more like personal story for Eminem, and I'm a huge Eminem fan for anybody wondering. That's why I'm so like geeky about this.
Imagine if we were in Fast 10, but Eminem was in the Paul Walker character.
Oh, dude, he'd be doing the soundtrack and everything too. That would be so funny.
Till the wheels come off. I'm spitting these raps about family. Don't ever come and bother me.
Oh my god, dude, it'd be so good. Other actors that were considered for the role were Mark Wahlberg and Christian Bale. What do you think about that?
I would have watched Christian Bale.
You would?
I would.
Christian Bale seems like he would have fit more into the role than Mark Wahlberg.
For sure. But, I mean, Marky Mark, he could have done it. He could have done it, but it wouldn't have been it would have been way more hilarious.
Yeah.
So
Timothy
these are all the cars? How's your mom doing?
goes, what? No.
No, I wouldn't. I'm not a cop.
I'm not a cop. What are you talking about?
I haven't played a cop in every movie ever.
That's so funny. Timothy Oliphant was wanted for the role of Toretto, but he declined because he thought it was dumb. His words. And he had just done Gone in 60 Seconds the previous year.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
And Justified would have been starting around a few years later.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Sarah Michelle Gellar, Jessica Biel, Kirsten Dunst, and Natalie Portman all auditioned for the role for Mia Toretto.
That's crazy.
I know, and these were all women that like around the time were like.
That's like the murderer's row of the top female actors at the time.
Exactly. I mean, and they hadn't even hit their stride yet either. Like they were in the middle of that stride. But ultimately it was Jordana Brewster who landed the role, and she did fine.
Oh, iconic! Whenever she comes back in the fourth one, gas.
I haven't seen the fourth one, but I wouldn't necessarily call it iconic. But
so I think you would actually enjoy the fourth one.
I've heard the fourth one is just called Fast and Furious, right?
Yeah, it's like the return to form, and it's got a crazy, crazy set piece where they're driving through like tunnels in a mountain.
Interesting. I'll have to check it out.
And
For sure.
and hey, it's where they get the band back together.
That's where the family comes back to play. Let me ask you this: do you obviously like the meme of the whole like family thing is part and parcel to this movie series? What kind of sense of family do you get here? Like, do you feel like it's as strong as it could be? Do you feel like it's strong enough to say, I would like ride or die for these people? Like, how do you feel about that in this movie?
I feel like before Paul Walker's character O'Brien comes into the mix, I feel like they were.
Okay. Because
I feel like his presence kind of juxtaposed everything.
See, for me, I look at it and I say this. So, the way I look at it is it just seems like a bunch of people telling me of their close relationships. Like I'm being informed and like exposition to the different close relationships that these people have. Like they're talking a lot about their close relationships, but you don't really like see a lot of their close relationships. You don't get to like, it's not really a show, don't tell. It's more tell, don't show kind of vibes. Because, it's always, well, what's the story between Dom and Vince? Well, it's like, well, Vince and Dom have been best friends since like third grade. And it's like, okay, well, all right. And like you said, like when O'Connor gets introduced, it kind of offsets all the family bond, because then Vince gets like super pissed and he doesn't want to hang around anymore. So he's off in his own la la land. So he's kind of acting an asshole. You don't really get to see his relationship with Dom really at all. And then it's like Letty and Dom have been together since they were like 16, and it's like you don't really get to see how their relationship works outside of them just like sucking face. uh which is fine. And same thing with Leon. You don't really know a lot about Leon.
Doesn't come back really for much of the other movies, I don't think.
Well, well, Jesse dies, but
Well, yes, but I meant Leon specifically. Like he's the real one that they never really
does Vince ever come
developed
back?
at all.
Does Vince ever come back?
Vince comes back in 5.
Okay. So Leon is really like the only one.
That's why he's like the one character that I don't feel like he might come back in one of the much later ones that I haven't seen or anything, but he's like the one that's super underdeveloped, and they're like, yeah, Leon's just here, and then Jesse showed up one day.
Gotcha.
Because Vince does come back, and whenever The Rock is also introduced.
Okay, I got you. That's really interesting how that works. Like the dynamics are interesting. Obviously, I feel like there's more relationship between Dom and Paul Walker's character. I feel like that's intended to, like that's supposed to be the case, and it develops fine.
And it's just again one of the things that they're just straight ripping from Point Break, where Patrick Swayze's character is sorry, a lot of characters.
Yeah.
Is the Dominic Toretto archetype, where he's like the leader of this bunch of criminals,
right?
And they got the same thing going with the background of those characters, where there's like, well, how did you meet him? And he's like, well, they been friends since they was kids.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. So going ahead and getting into accolades and awards, this movie was made on a budget of $38 million. Domestic box office was $144.5 million, so it killed at the domestic box office. And its worldwide total was $207.2 million. Like it's a $38 million budget. That's crazy. It won several different awards. I'll just go ahead and go through all of them here. It won an ASCAP award for most performed songs for motion pictures. This goes to obviously Ja Rule for the song "Put It On Me." It won a BMI Film Music Award for BT, who is the film's composer. It won a Hollywood Breakthrough Award for Breakthrough Male Performance for Paul Walker. As we have talked about already, this is like his big breakthrough movie, so that makes sense. MTV Movie Award for Best On-Screen Team, Vin Diesel and Paul Walker. This one's pretty funny. It won a Stinkers Award for Most Intrusive Musical Score. You good over there?
What's that?
I said, you good over there?
Nah, yeah, I just couldn't hear you for a second, so I was trying to fiddle with it.
Oh, okay.
My fault.
It's your fault.
I didn't know. I didn't know it was coming through that well.
I just hear a bunch of clanging and banging. I'm like, Jesus Christ! I'm trying to go over the awards here. What is going on?
I'm sorry. I moved the monitor, and then it hit my cup, and then I was like, I can't hear him.
You're fine. So, like I said, it won Stinkers Award for Most Intrusive Musical Score.
Really funny. Really funny. It deserved it.
I was waiting on your response to that, and then all that shit happened.
That's my fault.
You're fine. So then, this is a really interesting one. It cleaned house at the Taurus Awards for Best Driving, Best Work with a Vehicle, Best Stunt by a Stunt Woman, Best Stunt by a Stunt Man, and Best Stunt Coordinator / Second Unit Director of a Feature Film, who was Mick Rogers. And a special shout out to Christopher J. Tuck, who was in most of the categories that won. So basically cleaned house at the Stuntman Awards, essentially.
Nice.
Which makes sense. It checks out based on the stunt work, yeah. So then, you want to go ahead and just jump into the categories?
Hell yeah, son.
Let's do it. Number 1 liners. I'll let you go ahead and start with this one. Category where we talk about our favorite one-liners in the movie.
You almost had me? You almost had me?
Yeah. getting into that whole like speech of just like roasting him in front of everybody.
Winning is winning. Doesn't matter if it's by an inch or by a mile.
That's a good line, yeah. That whole sequence is really good. That's a really good.
That whole speech is most of that speech is I just have different parts of it written down.
I honestly think that whole part of the movie where he pulls up to the car show and then they go to do the race and then that speech after the race, and then the police chase immediately after that, probably the best part of the movie.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Like once they get back to the house, it goes back to being the movie that it was. But um, that whole sequence from start to finish, I think, is the best
See,
sequence.
I feel the same way about that sequence because it starts with him getting there and then it ends with them getting to the party.
Yeah, I
I
feel
feel
like
the same way that that one does about the end sequence where it starts where they're at the one race
at the
and
race wars.
where it starts where they're at the race wars and then it keeps going until the final race.
Oh, where they try to beat the train.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that I'd say for me, it's like when we get to that part, it's skip the race wars scene,
Oh yeah.
and it
But
goes.
but I enjoy the Jesse subplot with the Johnny Tran race. I
See, I
dropped my pen.
see. I must have missed something with that, and I'll get into that more later. I mean, I'll go ahead and get into it here in a second, but that always confused me. Like for some reason, I had like this weird Mandela effect in my own head, where I thought Jesse died from a car crash at the race wars, and then rewatching
That's
it.
strange.
Yeah, it was so weird because I guess in my head, him driving off towards the end of it, I thought was like him driving off and like getting into a wreck, which is not what happened.
Very strange.
Yeah, and so like he ends up dying later, which I remember him dying in the movie. I remember he's supposed to die, but I just didn't remember. I guess I was completely fucked up. I was totally turned around on the whole thing.
That's
Um,
really funny.
yeah, but I would say once you get past, I'd say for me it's right after or it's right at when Jesse dies, and then it goes into that car chase where they're chasing. What is his name? It's like Yun. Do you remember the name of the Japanese guys?
I remember Johnny Tran is the main
Yeah,
villain.
yeah.
I've said that one a few times, but I'll look up real fast who the other guy that he's going against.
Well, it's
Danny Yamako
yeah. So
is the character. So Danny and
once
Johnny
once it
are
once
the two guys on the motorbikes.
it's right when Jesse dies, and then basically the end of the movie is like the sequence that works the best for me. As like my second favorite sequence. I like the first sequence that I mentioned the most because for me that you could look at that sequence and say this is what the Fast and Furious is. Like if you had to take 20 minutes of the movie, 20 25 minutes, it's probably only like 20 minutes, and you just give it to somebody and like somebody's like I've never seen a Fast and Furious like this movie before, what would you say is a good starting point? Like how can I get a good idea for what this movie is without having to watch the whole movie? You give them that 20 minutes and then they get it.
I love it.
Yeah, my number one liner, I only had one, was when when they get to that race, when they get to that first car show race, and Letty, all those women are like surrounding Dom or whatever, and then Letty comes up and she goes like this. She goes, "I smell skanks."
It's one of the best deliveries ever.
Oh my god, the way she like does like the sniff is so funny.
Dude,
She really
and
committed to the
I,
bit.
it's really good. I have another one if you'd like.
Go ahead. I don't have any
You
more.
can have you can have any drink you want as long as it's a Corona.
Oh, what is even that about? Like, what the fuck
It's
is
just
that
mark.
shit?
That means Corona paid a lot of money for that.
Yeah, Corona was a big sponsor here. We had to get him in at least somehow, some way. Oh my god, that's so stupid.
The bastard get me out of handcuffs.
That's a good one. I like the delivery for it. I like the context around it more, I think. Because like I said, it comes off hot off the heels of that scene I really like.
See, another reason that I want you to watch Point Break, the part where Paul Walker does say like the "I'm a cop."
You mean Patrick Swayze?
That no. In
No.
Fast and the
Okay.
Furious,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
in Fast and the Furious, whenever Paul Walker's like "I'm a cop," it doesn't hit as well as when Keanu Reeves is in Point Break and he goes, "I am an FBI agent."
Okay.
Like the delivery, the tenseness, the scene, it just doesn't hit as well.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch Point Break. The way you,
You're
I'm
gonna be
afraid,
so happy,
dude. I'm afraid now because the way you gas it up so much. I'm afraid I'm not gonna like it.
dude. It's Point Break is my Demolition Man.
Oh my god, dude, I'm so excited. Well, I feel like Point Break though is a lot more classic though than Demolition Man, like in terms of like its place in history. I mean, it got a remake, so I feel like that kind of solidifies that argument.
I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, did you have any more number one liners?
Not that I wrote down; those were most of the ones I had, but I'm sure a few more will come to me. Or the Johnny Tran whenever they're at the race wars and Paul Walker's character had their house raided or whatever, and he's like, "The cops raided my house, man! Disrespecting in front of my whole family."
Yeah. And Dom said something to him. He basically fucked him up after that. I love how Dom
Yeah,
just
that
I love how Dom just beats the shit out of him for saying that.
yeah.
I ain't no narc.
Yeah, he calls him a rat or something.
Yeah, he ain't no rat.
I ain't no narc.
Yeah, that was funny. Um, getting into iconic images category where we talk about our favorite still frames. I'll go ahead and just say mine real quick. It's hour 37, 32 seconds. It's right after they pass the train, and it's the two cars going over the track, which I
Love it.
I like because that shot of them going over the tracks right before that still frame is well, I both of them are composited together. So it's like the train is shot going by, and then like the cars are filmed independently going over the track, and then the shots are composited together to make it look like it's all happening in one shot.
I didn't know that. That's actually quite incredible.
Yeah,
I
so
did have that one written down as my still shot, but I also had a whole bunch of just funny Paul Walker faces.
breakthrough performance, ladies and gentlemen.
There's just a lot. I didn't write them down, but there's a lot of points in the movie, like right after he gets when he's just drifting around at the opening scene. There's a part where he spins out or whatever, and you could just pause it at any point where he's like hitting the steering wheel or whatever, and he's making hilarious faces.
That's funny. Yeah, he makes a lot of dumb faces in the movie, doesn't he?
And then right whenever he's getting the first Corona, if you pause it right there, it's the funniest. Like I'm staring at Vince's face.
I can't wait. Did you write time codes for that, or did you just
I didn't. I just wrote the time code for the final race one,
the
but
same
when
one
they're
I
going
had?
up, yeah, the same one you had for that. But all the other ones, I was just pausing and being like, I could write this one down, but nah.
That's hilarious. So getting into cutting room floor category where we talk about scenes that were either deleted or scenes we wish were deleted or scenes we wish went on a little bit longer. What do you got for me?
Uh, so I had I had the first opening race, or not the opening race, but the first race whenever he challenges Toretto and the other groups.
Oh, like you wanted to see more of that, or
Yeah, I wanted to see more of like the underground street racing of it.
right?
Like, cause the movie is like, oh, it's street racing or whatever, but it's more about like the Toretto family and his little clan and the crime syndicates around all of it. But I wanted just a little bit longer hanging out in the street world, which is why I like Tokyo Drift so much because it's mostly that is the movie is just
Yeah,
hanging out in the Tokyo Drift scene.
yeah. It's interesting because if you really think about it, there's only two scenes in the whole movie that, or two sequences that really take place surrounding the underground street element, and it's that first, it's the first race, and then it's whenever they get to race wars.
Which is
It's
why, in my humble opinion, I think that the Tokyo Drift Fast and the Furious is the best Fast and the Furious in only in the context that it is the only movie that is just about racing for the most part.
right. It's not about family.
No, well, it's more of the classic character in a different situation that he's not accustomed to, the fish out of water scenario.
It's interesting thinking about Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift because it's kind of
It's the
like,
only one that stands apart.
well, it was kind of ahead of its time too, in the sense that like it was, hey, I'm gonna be a movie from a big franchise, and I'm gonna be my own independent story. And then right at the very end of the movie, we're gonna have a cameo from someone who is like a big deal in one of the other movies.
It was the precursor to the MCU in many ways.
Yeah, I find that so fascinating because
And then they tie it into, I think it's in 6 or 7 that scene ties back into the larger story, but then it ends up not paying off at all.
I was about to say that character, the main character from Tokyo Drift, doesn't really come back into play at all, does he?
No, but the Hans character who dies in that movie does, and then it turns out that he's not even dead.
Oh, okay, I got you. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah, it sounds stupid, but I mean that's what happens when you have a franchise that goes on for like 10 movies. Let me ask you this, since we're on the topic, do you think this movie, based on this movie, you would be able to guess that the other movies go in the direction they go?
The first 4, yes.
Okay, because
Once you get to 5 is whenever it becomes like a superhero movie.
okay, and let me ask you this too as well. Do you think this movie should have turned into a franchise? Like, do you think this movie? I mean, obviously the money was there; it made the money. Ignore that for a second and just ask yourself: does this movie warrant a sequel?
I think it's open ended enough to where it was at least going to be 2.
Because did Point Break get a sequel?
It did not,
Which
but
is
it does not. It has the opposite kind of ending where it's not as open ended.
okay. It doesn't let the bad guy get away at the end.
Not in the same way.
Okay, I got you. I won't ask too many questions because I won't spoil it for myself yet. But
It's just not the same kind. That's the one difference.
it's so
Is that that they left Fast and the Furious open for a sequel way easier.
yeah. Getting into best explosion. My best explosion I had was I thought was the most eye catching was whenever the 10-second car blew up from the Nas, like when Johnny Tran, uh,
So
used his machine gun.
I don't know if you remember this or if anybody that's listening will, but for when you used to, use DVDs back in the day or VHS or whatever, the company that distributed the VHS, be it Universal or Fox or whatever, used to have commercials on these said movies
Okay.
promoting their products. The Universal one very specifically had cuts from The Mummy, Jurassic Park 3, and Fast and the Furious. And one of those cuts is the explosion of the 10-second car because it's got like the green and blue flames and everything.
Oh, cool.
And I've been mesmerized by that because it was one of those things. It was one of those things where you're watching the trailers for whatever movie you're watching, and I was like, "What are these clips from of these 3 movies?" And then eventually, I did watch all 3 of them,
Right.
and it was like, "Oh, that's the shot. Oh, that's the shot."
That's so funny that you and I had the same one. Again.
I just think that it's because that explosion is so iconic to me for that reason, and because it's just so cool when the Nas does explode and it lifts the car off the ground.
For that very niche reason, yeah.
For that very niche reason, but it's just one that I had listed down because I was like, because it also kind of ties into movie memories.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, it's okay. So, just as like a small aside, I've been thinking we're probably just gonna do away with the category movie memories since throughout the whole show,
Unless specifically.
unless it's like specific, but something we wanted to wait until the end of the show. But usually throughout the entirety of the show, we end up talking about our movie memories, just like in general.
Mhm.
And typically, a lot of the times, we might not even have special memories with the movie, so we're probably just gonna replace it with something. Like we replaced it with, we added a new category not too long ago, and so we'll probably just replace that with movie memories.
I see.
Um, Getting into best stunt. What was your favorite stunt in the whole movie?
So I didn't, I just wanted to honorably mention the car flipping at
Okay.
the end. I didn't know
Yes.
if there was a stunt person in there or if it was just like a dummy with the car flying, but I
That
just wanted to honorable mention that.
that stunt was actually done by building a steel ramp that is what would allow the car to fly, look like it's hitting the semi, but essentially flying over the semi and doing that spin over O'Connor's car. It's how that effect was achieved.
Love it.
Because like it's hitting it, but it, in order to make it go the direction they wanted it to go, they did have it drive up on a ramp. It's still crashing, obviously, but I
Hmm.
just found that very fascinating. What is, if that's your honorable mention? What was your big kicker?
I had the motorbike crashes because that is for
Ooh,
sure real people doing it.
yeah, that was good.
Because those stunts are insane. Like when they shoot the Danny and Johnny characters off their motorbikes and they fly down. Like the one guy skids down the pavement on it, and the other guy flies down the embankment.
Yeah, that was good.
I thought those were crazy. I was like, those are real people doing that.
Yeah, see, mine was your honorable mention. Mine was when the Dom's car hits the semi because I just thought
I
this.
wasn't sure. I couldn't. I didn't really do much research behind the scenes because I know that you usually do.
Yeah.
So I didn't know for sure if there was a person in there or they just sent it like on a line.
Well, they definitely had somebody driving the car adjacent to it.
Hmm.
And I would assume they had a stunt driver driving the car that flipped, just so they could have just so they could have the car actually drive itself up onto the ramp. Um, but I'm not sure. I didn't get that far into the research on this one, or in my research, I didn't find anything that suggested otherwise.
Her, and then I also did have the Dom versus Johnny Tran fight, and then the Paul Walker versus Vince fight written down.
Yeah, yeah,
The watch your back sound cue, hilarious.
yeah, and watch your back.
What? Watch your back.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean,
Dom, are you do
and
anything about this?
and obviously, like we have to mention the stunt driving just in general is really
Just in
good.
general, yeah.
Yeah, like the way
But
everybody.
the motorbikes is crazy. Like not just them off, them like doing the jumps and
Yeah,
like going in between traffic and stuff.
yeah, those are always impressive because there's no safety net.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's not like with a car where like a stunt car is built to crash.
Not that long ago, I think it was in Deadpool 2, there was a motorcycle accident where a stunt person died.
Oh my god, I didn't know that. That's tragic. But that happens. That happens, especially when
Because it is just so dangerous.
it is so dangerous. You don't have, like I
That's why it's
said,
incredible.
that's why it's always very admirable whenever a stunt person is able to really pull that off convincingly and well, and not die from it. But getting into best action slash fight sequence, I had like I we had already talked about this, but I had the first race and the final race, like
For
that,
sure.
like when I talked about like that whole first racing sequence and then like the police chase immediately following it. That's like my, in terms of action, I really like the first race because I like the way it makes me feel like I'm in the car with these guys going as fast as they are. And then the final race I really like because now there's a lot more like context to it. it's kind of like it's not necessarily a life or death, but it is kind of a life or death, with the train involved and everything. And then, like I said, with the truck flipping the car, that sequence is really good in terms of action. Like the whole movie's got great action. So
I love the final race especially because the whole movie is setting it up to get to that point.
yeah,
Like the whole movie, you're like, when is Dom and Paul Walker gonna get the rematch in?
I will say my favorite thing about that is whatever Dom says to O'Connor.
Me and
Right,
my friends used to race this quarter mile every day.
yeah, back in high school, and I was like,
Yeah,
and it makes me wonder, like, I didn't even realize this. How old are they supposed to be? They're supposed to be like in
I,
their 20s, right?
I guess they're supposed to be in their mid to late 20s.
Yeah, because oh man, and the backstory for Dom, where he's like, I was gonna be in like the amateur racing circuit or whatever. Like I was gonna be a professional like driver,
And then I saw my dad die.
and
I
then
realized that it wasn't him that was screaming. I was screaming.
I was screaming. Thank you for remembering the quotes here, because I would have butchered it.
What's funny is I watched it like 2 or 3 days ago, but I've just seen it so many times
Oh my
that like I
god.
could just I could just be thinking about the scenes, not word for word necessarily, but pretty much the quotes.
My rewatch schedule on this movie was crazy. So I had like 2 weeks. First and foremost, I had 2 weeks because we took last week off. I had 2 weeks to go through this movie. I waited a week because I wanted to be closer to when we did it. I started at the beginning of this
Should have
week.
watched it twice.
I should have, but I just didn't have the time for it because I was also watching White House Down.
Why?
I liked it. I don't know, it was fun.
Is White House Down the one that's Jamie Foxx?
Yeah.
Not the Olympus Has Fallen, the better
Uh,
Jared, the
with
better the better product?
With Gerard Butler.
Yeah, Gerard Butler.
Jared Butler.
I was thinking his name was something. I thought it was Jared Way, but I think that's a singer for a band, My Chemical Romance.
That's so funny that you got
I just completely
Gerard
mixed
Butler
up the
mixed up
names.
with My Chemical Romance singers.
Gerard Way.
That's funny. Um, no, so I was watching this movie, and it would be like I'd watch it one day because my work schedule's been crazy too. I'd watch it, I'd start the beginning of it, and then it would be like 2 days later, I'm getting into the middle of it, and then for like 3 days after that, I was like, I gotta finish the movie. I got like 20 minutes left. So there was like
You just no wonder you didn't like it.
if I'd watched it in all one go, that would have been it.
You watched it like it was like how we used to watch movies on TV when it was on cable.
Yeah, like I'd catch glimpses of
We're
it
like,
here
ah,
and there.
shit, it's the part where they're at the party again. I missed it.
Oh yeah. No, but no, but seriously, like this is just
Johnny Tran's house is getting raided. I don't care. Get to Race Wars.
yeah. No, like seriously, the schedule on watching this was just insane. But I eventually got there, and I was honestly like I was able to actually appreciate the final race that much more because it was like I had marinated on the whole rest of the movie, and then I jumped back into it around that part. Like I jumped back into it right around the end of the whenever the last heist goes wrong, and it actually
Whenever he's like, Lieutenant Brian O'Connor,
yeah,
LAPD, I need immediate evac, and Dom's just giving him the most evil eyes with blood on his shirt.
yeah, like once it got to like that part, that was like I jumped back in right around there.
When are you
And
gonna do the pacifier?
oh dude, I was actually okay. Huge, huge, huge aside for a second. Like this is gonna be a whole soliloquy.
I
But
hit a nerve.
but no, I love the pacifier. Go ahead.
Me too.
I go ahead and preface that. I grew up watching the pacifier. I
Me
loved
too.
it.
Got it from Blockbuster.
I can't believe when we were talking about Vin Diesel movies earlier, we did not mention the pacifier.
I didn't want to bring it up because I didn't know if that was a weird pull. I waited
No,
till an hour
yeah,
in to pull it out.
that's the best pull. That is the best pull.
It's so funny. We were arguing about Suicide, which Suicide Squad is better. We've argued about movies here and there. Pacifiers, where we meet in the middle.
The pacifier is our common ground.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and so the whole reason I bring this up now is so you mentioned the pacifier. I have actually been stewing on an idea for the show for a while now. Since we started the show, I've been thinking about this idea because I mentioned how eventually I want us to do like a month of like where we do like a themed month where like we do like 4 movies for each of like the 4 weeks of the month. Where it's like a theme, like we talked about doing like an Indiana Jones month, or like a kung fu movie month, just something like where we kind of like focus on either a series or a genre, something along those lines. And one of the things that I thought would be really interesting is if we did a themed month around big badass guys that take care of kids.
Okay, so we got pacifier.
So we got so it would
We're
be
doing daddy daycare.
no. I mean, it's like
The Beverly
movies.
Hills Cop is taking care of kids. Come on,
It's like
the
movies.
dad from Goldberg's.
No, listen.
Those aren't big macho guys.
It's it's movies that specifically have
Kindergarten Cop.
Kindergarten Cop. Uh, what's another one that I'm thinking of? So it's Kindergarten Cop. There's like a Hulk Hogan movie where he's like a nanny.
No,
There, no.
it's out. It's out.
It's a very niche genre. That's why I have been like stewing on it. There's that one, My Spy, with David Bautista, just came out with a sequel.
There's 2 of those now.
Yeah. So then there's and then there's that one with Jackie Chan.
Oh, the Spy Next Door or whatever.
Spy Next Door. It's terrible, but it's Spy Next Door. That's the funny thing too is like all these movies are like, except for like Kindergarten Cop. I don't hate Kindergarten
The
Cop.
Game Plan.
The Game Plan. That's a good one.
Are we done yet? Count? Or are we there yet?
I don't think it counts, even though
That doesn't count.
I consider Ice Cube an action movie star because he did like Triple X State of the Union, but I would not say Are We There Yet is an action movie.
No, I mean it has. Both of them have action sequences.
I think that one rides the fence maybe a little too much. I think it's more it leans way too heavy into the comedy. It's like
Yeah, it's more slapsticky.
it's
I
more
guess.
slapsticky than it is actiony. But I get what you're going with. Basically, it was just like this whole thing where I was like, we could do start with some of these other movies, like look at the history of movies like this, and then end with the pacifier.
It's true.
I don't know. We'll kick it around. We'll kick it around.
We'll kick it around.
We'll workshop.
So far, there's 2 for sure.
2 for sure in pacifier and Kindergarten Cop, and then I think I think in order to make it work, we'd have to bite the bullet on some other ones.
Yeah, the Dave Bautista one's probably a good third. We'd have to workshop the 4th one.
Yeah, we'll workshop.
I'm looking right now, and none of them are. They're more comedy most of the time.
Yeah, it's just, but they have like, and I'm telling you, the Hulk Hogan one.
Oh, hold on.
Which one?
Journey to the Center of the Earth. We Ben Fraser taking care of a bunch of kids. Dinosaurs, action sequences. I think that's a good one right there.
Maybe. The only reason I say maybe is because like part of the theme would be super badass guy takes care of kids, but in like a nanny type way. Like you take
I
them.
mean, he's taking care of his is it his son or his nephew?
I don't know. I could not tell.
I don't remember. Journey to the Center is a good one though.
It's what's his name? The son. Oh man, I'm blank. PETA from Hunger Games.
Oh yeah, I forget his name, but I know who you're talking about.
Oh god, it's gonna kill me because I just knew it the other day. Anyway,
Hey, you can do it.
we've been on this for probably long enough. Let's get back to Fast and Furious.
Yeah, I can tell you didn't like this one.
Oh man. Oh why? Because I just got so far off track.
Because I mentioned the pacifier, and you were like, "Man, let me tell you."
Man, buddy, let me get in your ear for a second here. No, but seriously. So anyway, Overacting Anonymous category where we talk about The actor that probably overacted too much
Josh Hutcherson.
as Josh
That's
Hutcherson is
that was
yeah.
that's
I
the character you were trying to think of earlier.
thank you. Yeah.
You're so welcome.
For some reason I
The
got hung up on
overacting,
John
the
or something.
overacting I had was Vin Diesel in a lot of scenes.
Really?
There's
Very
scenes where he's doing really well,
yes.
where it is intelligible and stuff, but there's a few where he's hamming it up.
Right. No, I got you.
The Jesse character in a few scenes,
Fair. I almost had him. Fair.
where his death scene, right before, not his necessarily his death scene, but whenever he first gets back and he's like, "I'm sorry, man, I was just gone, I didn't know where to go,"
Yeah. No,
and then
that
just
checks out.
immediately gets mowed down.
Yeah. It's so stupid. It's so dumb because he disappears after his race, and then he doesn't come back into the movie until that scene, so he can die. Like,
Yeah,
what's
it
that
wasn't well
about?
planned.
What's that about? Like
Maybe he should have died in a crash.
they just didn't know what to do with Jesse at that point. They just wrote him out of the story. They conveniently wrote him out of the story for several scenes just so that he wouldn't be there for the heist scene. But just they kept him out of that scene just so they could kill him in a later scene. What the fuck is that about? That doesn't make any sense.
Bro, just what we do here.
Yeah. Well, anyway, my overacting anonymous nominee is Matt Scholes as Vince.
Yeah,
I can
that was my second choice.
Yeah, I mean you could see it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it starts. I think the thing that sticks out to me the most is where it starts with him hating Paul Walker.
Why you bring the Buster here?
Yeah, the Buster speech.
Who eats tuna fish salad?
Yeah, or whenever he's like talking to Mia and Mia's like, "Hey, what's that name of that restaurant you wanted to take me to?" And he tells her, and she's like, "Yeah, it's real fancy and romantic, right?" He's like, "Yeah," and she turns around to Brian and she's like, "Why don't you take me there?" That was pretty.
He's like, "Hey, man."
And then he pisses off. Yeah, man, dude, that was so funny.
I like Vince's car a lot.
Yeah, that's good shit. Oh man, that dude kind of got fucked on a little too much at the end of the movie, getting shotgun blasted and his arm almost cut off.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, I was like,
He didn't deserve it, but it's awesome that it happened.
He did not deserve that at all. I was like, damn, dude.
He deserved to maybe get punched once or twice, maybe get shot. Not all that though.
No, he didn't deserve getting tortured like that. That was crazy. But I'm glad.
I can't wait. I can't wait for you to watch Fast and Furious 5 and see when Vince comes back.
Oh yeah, because that's totally coming up soon.
Just at some point.
I'm gonna ask you this: do you think this movie will suck? Like, if nobody's ever seen Fast and Furious franchise at all before, do you think the first movie will convince them to watch the sequels?
Most of the time.
Most of the time. That's fair. So then we get on to second comers, the category where we talk about our favorite actor who is not the lead. Who do you got?
So I do really enjoy Jesse because he is in an episode of X-Files that I really enjoy where he gets the power to strike people with lightning.
Oh, cool.
And then he's also in most of the first or second season of Supernatural as a really eccentric, weird character as well.
Okay. So he's a big TV actor.
Most of the things I've seen him in TV, and then I believe he's also in October Sky, the rocket movie with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Ooh, oh yeah, was he one of the friends?
I think he's one of the friends because that's a few years later, but Jake Gyllenhaal's a little bit older in that movie too.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now.
I believe he's in that movie, but I could be wrong.
He is.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he's Odell in the movie. So he is one of the friends.
I got another one of those. I got that on VHS as well.
It's a good movie. Good movie.
Good one.
Mine was Vin Diesel. I didn't know if it counted because he is like the second
He's
name.
not. He's the second lead, but
It's
it would be
he's not
it
the
would be
lead.
Paul Walker.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Paul Walker is the lead, so I went with Vin Diesel. It's easy, you know.
lame.
Yeah, I mean, once we got
You're not
to
gonna say the one detective guy who's the dad from Dexter?
no, I didn't really see. I didn't even know this. I've never even watched Dexter.
Good show.
Zeta keeps trying to get me to watch it, but I
You'd
just
like that one too.
that's what she keeps telling me, but I just don't know if I'd be into it. I
You
tried to
don't
get
like serial? You hey, yay. You like uh Cliffhanger, right?
yeah.
Well, in one of the seasons, John Lithgow is the villain,
Well, I'll be.
and he
I
does
like
a
John
really
Lithgow in
good psych.
general.
He's. I'll tell you that the show isn't as good. Like I don't know, every season is good, but there's like 3 or 4 really awesome seasons in there.
I'll try and rewatch it again. I like tried the first episode; it didn't really grab me, but I'll try again sometime soon, maybe.
It's a good one.
Getting into Spotlight Cameo category, where we talk about our favorite cameos. Um, Mine was just I just put this in here because it was really easy. I got to this part of my categories and I started like rushing for time.
This guy.
So I went with Ja Rule.
I mean, it's pretty much the only real cameo in it.
I mean, yeah,
Do you want to know what I had?
what did you have?
I had the character Hector pops up in this movie.
Okay, see, I put that in. I put him in for my deja vu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, I felt like this was the one that was my cameo because he shows up in a bunch of like he's in Training Day. He's he shows up in Bruce Almighty. He shows
Yeah.
up like he just is always showing up in these movies for like 10 seconds in SWAT.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of these movies, and I'm pretty sure in most of them he's playing Hector. So in my head, he's playing all of these guys who's just the same dude in all of these universes.
That would be absolutely hilarious. Um, yeah, so for my deja vu, I had him. His name's Noel Guglielmi.
Yes,
Guglielmi. I'm butchering the fuck out of that.
it's all right.
But I know him as the Bruce Almighty monkey butt guy. Does the
Oh,
monkey come out of his butt?
it's so good. I like he's one of the guys in Training Day whenever Ethan Hawke is about to get his head blasted off in the bathroom.
Oh, he's one of those guys.
He's one of the 3 guys as well as what's his name from Breaking Bad.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
I know I could see his name in my head, but I can't.
We'll
We'll
figure it
move
out.
on.
Yeah, no, it'll come back to you. It'll come back to you.
Hector's my guy.
It'll come back to you in the most inconvenient time too, and you'll be like, ah, shit.
That's how it goes.
Um, and then just as a random trivia fact, I had it written down here, but for some reason I didn't really tie it into anything. 78 cars were destroyed in total on and off screen in this movie.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Also, Michelle Rodriguez, who played Letty, actually did not have a driver's license going into this movie, so she had to learn how to drive on set.
Incredible.
Yeah. So that does it for all of our categories. Did you have any other thoughts on Fast and Furious you wanted to close out on?
Just that it slaps, bro.
Very insightful.
Just that it slaps. I just really enjoy it. I would like if we eventually would do Tokyo Drift. I have lots and lots of fun thoughts about that one.
Well,
But just in general, I would like to say as a closing statement that though this is a cheap ripoff of Point Break, I did watch this movie endlessly. Endlessly. I did have a better fascination with the second one when I was growing up in Tokyo Drift, but returning to this one, this is the movie of the series.
the chef's kiss.
The Chef's Kiss.
See, okay, so back to what you were saying. I actually did kick around the idea in my head. Maybe during one of our themed months, we do like a Fast and Furious February or something. Um, where we just kind of like every year on February we just go through the Fast and Furious series.
It'd be so funny.
So every February we just do Fast and Furious. Um, but I just thought that'd be interesting.
I would love to.
Yeah. Get my closing statements here are, despite any of the criticisms that I have for this movie, I look at this movie and I say it's very humble. It comes from very humble beginnings. You can tell that a lot of effort actually went into this movie. You feel that people tried really hard to make this movie, and you see that in the stunt work. There's so much beauty in the stunts and the action that it is the epitome of what this show is made for and what it praises. We praise these types of things in these kinds of movies, regardless of its overall quality. These are the things that we come back to, and these are the reasons we rewatch movies like this, so we can look at the screen in awe. And that's what I like
That's
about
what
the
it
movie.
delivers. That's what
Yeah,
it delivers for
that's what it
sure.
delivers for sure. So that is going to be it for the Fast and Furious. But now we're getting into the point in time of the show where we talk about the picker wheel. Go ahead and bring this up to Schnuff. There we go. Okay, so this is the point of the show where we talk what our next pick is going to be. So let's see what we've got right now. We've got Point Break, Roadhouse, Speed, Lethal Weapon, Transformers, Over the Top, The Running Man, Hard Target, and National Treasure. If anybody's watching right now, you can go ahead and put in your picks. We'll pick one, and then it will go into the list, and then we will spin, and then we will see whatever next week's movie pick is going to be. Obviously, this isn't an every week thing. Some weeks there might be a certain release or something we want to coincide one of our episodes with, and then we do it then. But usually we just kind of go random and just pick a random movie from the wheel. So I'll give it, let's see here, I'll give it 5 seconds, 10, 15 seconds. What are you most excited to, like, what are you hoping to get out of this week's wheel?
Oh, Point Break. It'd be so funny just to go back to back.
Just to go back to back, like we get
While
Point
it's
Break.
fresh.
We've been talking the most about Point Break out of all the side movies here.
I would also, if it was Speed, Point Break, or National Treasure, I would like to add a new category where I have my dad write a paragraph or chime in with a voice message or something.
Yes, dude, that'd be so
Because
great.
he loves a bunch of those movies that are, but especially Speed and Point Break and
If
National Treasure.
if we get either Speed or Point Break and or National Treasure, I am so down for that. I would love that so much to hear from
I was gonna say either I'll have him write like a paragraph or two, or like hand him the categories and stuff.
and have him do his own categories.
Yeah, yeah. It would just
That
be
would
like a
be
closing thing.
that would be the shit. That's so cool.
Because I don't know if he'll be able to ever be on one of these with our different schedules or whatnot.
Oh, I
But it'd
know.
be really fun to
Our
get his input.
our schedules are so hectic. Like we do these on such random days, but I think that's going to be it for the time limit. So we're going to go ahead and are you fine with the category or with the movies we have listed?
Of course.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and go for the spin. And here it goes. And our pick
Chugga, chugga,
is
chugga, 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 chugga.
Speed.
Hell yeah.
We got Speed, ladies and gentlemen. All right.
Pop quiz hotshot. There's a bomb in the bus. Bomb gets activated when the bus goes over 50 miles an hour. When the bomb explodes when the bus goes under 50 miles an hour. What do you do? What do you do?
I don't know. God damn, my computer's about to die. Anyway, uh, that's gonna be it from us, you guys.
It's just the line from Speed, bro.
God, my computer's geeking out. Oh God, what's happening? Uh, uh, uh. Okay, my computer's about to die apparently, so we gotta go ahead and get out of here. But that's gonna be it from us, guys. And we'll see you guys next week with Speed.
Bye.